I always say to people, healing begins with you. So if you want to heal your partner, you're coming in because you're worried about your partner, you heal yourself. If you want to heal your child, you heal yourself. If you want to heal your parent, you heal yourself. It starts with you, and it's the ripple effect that goes outwards. And from healing within, you start to see a change in your external. You also start to bring other people on the more spiritually awoken journey with you. But it starts with you.
This is a GK Media podcast. Amber Lee of ambermoonholistic.com. Thank you for joining me on Gary Talks.
Thank you for having me.
My
Delighted
pleasure.
to be here.
So you've a great story and a difficult journey that I think there's a lot of learnings there for people that they can take from. I just want to go back, if you don't mind, to childhood, because I think a lot of things we do later in life are defined by the sort of childhood that we have. So can you take us back to when you were a young girl growing up in East Galway?
Yeah, of course. So my childhood wasn't the most conventional. I lost my dad when I was 6, which is very young. And I felt that growing up, I didn't really, I suppose, come to terms with losing my father until later on in life. I don't think you register it when you're that small. You don't really know how to navigate the pain of grief or why someone's left and things like that. So I felt that it's all been part of the journey to bring me to where I am today, going through that kind of heartbreak so young. I do still get sad at his, around the time of his death with the anniversaries and everything. I do feel that sense of surge come up and everything. And I have been working through in later years, just releasing it energetically, learning the benefits of, I suppose, letting it go and working through any kind of abandonment wounds that I might have had growing up because of it. And just, I suppose, it's brought me to where I am now. So I am really empathetic towards people who are coming in, who have lost somebody, even if it's 30 odd years ago and they're only dealing with it today, because I know that it can take a long time to work through the different elements of grief, to accept that somebody isn't in your life. And I suppose to accept that you didn't have a conventional upbringing. When everyone else is with family units that, everyone's tight knit and they have their dad walking them up the aisle and all that things. I think that when you get a little bit older, you do start to really see the parts that you're missing. But I don't, I feel like all that had to happen in a way for me to become the person that I am today and to have that compassion and understanding and want to help other people to heal. So I always think that adversity brings you to that place. But yeah, growing up, I suppose I don't have many memories of my childhood in a way. I feel like I kind of block them out a little bit.
I was going to ask, do you have many memories of your dad, or what sort of memories are they?
No, I don't. I suppose you're so young. Some of my friends have amazing memories from when they're that age and can tell me lots of things, and I don't have much of a memory at all. But I feel like it was traumatic losing a parent that age and not really knowing why and things like that.
Well, it's losing the parent, but I think it's also witnessing the ripple effect that has on the family.
Yeah, I definitely, I suppose my mom was only young. He died when he was 30. It was, he died in a car crash. He was here one day, gone the next. And I think it took her a long time to work through the grief herself and to move forward in her life and just, accept as well the way he passed away, because it was words left unsaid and all that side of things that comes with losing someone so young, so full of life, so with everything ahead of him. And I suppose it does make me reflect now on even my age and the fact that, I can't believe when you're younger, you're like, okay, he wasn't that young. But when you're getting into your 30s, you're like, oh my God, he was so young. He really had his whole life ahead of him and he had his little family and everything. So it was definitely the ripple effect growing up, not really talking about him in the house and everything like that. But I think, grief causes that, where people are in a lot of pain. They don't want to relive it, or they bury things down and they suppress. And that's the kind of people that I work with now all the time, I suppose, that we're unpacking the grief, we're unpacking the heartbreak and starting to look at it and starting to sit with it, and so that we can release it. Because when we pack it down and pack it down and pack it down, that's what the emotional blocks come in and the heart closing comes in and everything, and it can affect every other element of your life. So I suppose in a way I'm I'm grateful for the life lessons that it brought along with it from seeing the pain in my own family.
And did you grow up a sort of lone wolf?
I was an only child until I was 10. And then my mom had my brother and sister then as well. So yeah, I probably was a bit of a loner. I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of friends in school, and I was very close to my cousin, and we used to go out to my nana's house and, out in the farm, having fun out there for the summer and things like that. So I wasn't alone in terms of, I had a lot of friends in the estate I grew up in and everything, but I suppose in a way, you're an only child. You are a bit alone at the beginning. So yeah, it was probably me against the world in my own head for a little while, especially as a teenager.
So when did you begin to, find yourself, as they say, kind of figure out who you are and what you wanted?
It was definitely, I suppose, I was leaning into it more coming up towards COVID, where I was starting to explore running a holistic event and kind of feeling like I want to work with people, but I don't know how. Like, I want to help people. So I always, like when I worked in marketing, I'd always run different, I suppose, charity events and things where I felt like I was giving back. I volunteered with Jigsaw to help them with their corporate fundraising when I was younger, and I did that on the side of my job. I always felt like I wanted to give back, but I just didn't know how. So it was really during COVID that I even thought about doing a practitioner, like Enthon practitioner, or going into holistic events. But it's...
So you're doing events and marketing, and is it
Yeah.
like mid-20s in your life that you're looking at changing it completely?
Yeah, I was mid-20s. So I was around 30 where COVID struck. So yeah, I was like mid to late 20s, was kind of finding myself, finding my groove. Really always wanted to work for myself. Was a bit nervous, didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't really love marketing enough to really have that zest for it, to do my own thing in it. So yeah, it was an interesting time figuring it all out.
Yeah. So again, COVID was good in a way that people got to figure out, this isn't what I want to do, or this is what I want to do, and reinvent themselves, and had that little pause to figure things out a little and get more clarity in their lives. So you started into Reiki courses.
Yeah.
There's 3 courses you have to do altogether, is it, to become a qualified
Yeah, so
practitioner?
you start with Reiki level 1, and that is teaching you how to heal yourself using Reiki. And I think you can kind of work with children and stuff with that too. So it's nice for families or somebody within a family, or someone that just wants to, I suppose, have that extra element of healing in their lives and are just trying to work through something. Level 2, then you're kind of up a level. You're just learning more about the different elements of Reiki, and you're starting to practice a little bit more on each other and that kind of stuff. So it's a level up. Then level 3 is how we did it was, it's all about psychic development and mediumship, and so it's just exploring that side of it, that it's not just working with the energy, you're also kind of getting downloads, and you're more aware and open to your intuition and things like that. And then you can also practice. So you can open your own practice, and you can also become a master, which is what I am. So when you graduate or whatever, you can go and teach. So I haven't developed that side of things yet, but it is something that's really on my radar in the next while. But yeah, so you can teach Reiki. So it's really nice. Like, I find a lot of people do it and they never go out and practice. They just do it for themselves. They do it because it makes them feel good, or they're just curious, and that's fine. I was of the other. As soon as I walked into the room, I was like, I'm going to be teaching this. I just felt like I found my groove, found my tribe. I just loved it. Just really enjoyed it. Just really felt it was like powerful. And
so we'll explain to people who don't know what Reiki is, because it's a non-contact treatment.
No, you actually do. You have hands on in different elements of the body, so you can have hands on and over. Yeah.
Okay. So well, the Reiki people I only ever went to never touched me.
So
maybe it was
sometimes they
just
don't.
me.
No, not at all. Like, sometimes people don't, and sometimes people do. I like the hands on and hands over. So I'll decide like what people are comfortable with, and obviously the different parts of the body and everything. It's nice to have the hands on the head and everything, because I think you connect in nicely, but hands over is just as good. It doesn't make any real difference. It's just, I suppose, the practitioner's preference. But yeah, it's energy healing. I was a total skeptic for many years, so I totally get it if people are like, I don't know what it's about, or I don't know if I believe in it, and that's fine. I would have been of the same verse probably a long time ago, but it's energy healing. So I liken it to, when I'm talking with clients, I liken it to a river. So the emotions are like a river, or the energy is like a river in the body. And
Coming from the head, is it?
yeah, so it's kind of like coming from the head down to the feet. So that's how I envision it. That it's like a river of energy, a river of emotion. And over the years, with any heartbreak or sadness, grief, disappointments, anything that we like to suppress down and kind of push down into ourselves, even from childhood, that kind of builds up rocks in the river. I liken it to. Okay. So over time, the energy flow or the emotion flow is stagnant. It's a little bit harder to work its way through. So what I liken Reiki to is I come in and I'm working with the energy and I go down layer by layer by layer by layer. So we'll start with the surface layer, which, it can be like something's happening in the present, maybe, like a relationship that they need to look at, or maybe they're kind of feeling that soul searching need to change career and that kind of thing. And then we kind of go deeper and deeper and deeper per treatment that people come to me. That's how I liken it, because I feel like it's an easier way to describe it. And when I work with people's energy, I can feel which chakra points are blocked. Sometimes if someone has a really hard time communicating, as soon as they come in, I'm like, I can't talk. Like it nearly like blocks me up. If they have a real pain in their heart, like they're going through big grief, I can feel it physically. I'm like, oh, that's hard. Okay. And I can feel the emotions. I can feel the tears behind the eyes.
Can you feel anything from me right now?
No, because I'm not tapped in. So people always worry. They're like, oh my God, are you reading my mind? I'm like, no, don't worry. I'm not like tapped in terms of if I'm working, I'm tapped into someone's energy.
And by tapped in, you need to like get into the zone or something, is it?
Yeah, like I don't find it that hard. Like I'm quite intuitive. So I suppose like I would pick up on people's energy. So if you were in an upset mood or anything like that, I probably feel it at a heightened level to other people. I'd really tap in. But I won't kind of do it going around the place either, because, people have their private space as well. I don't want to be encroaching in on it.
Going through a shopping centre now on a Saturday.
No, God, you have to switch that off or you'd be feeling everyone's pain or everyone's stuff. But yeah, so I would feel things with people. So that's kind of what my Reiki in general is it's removing energetic blocks and emotional blockages. You're working down through the emotional, the physical, the mental layers, and you're helping somebody work through past trauma, but also current situations, also worries about the future. That comes in a lot. It can be any element of their life, and you just pick up on it and go with it.
Because I do think that the hands are interesting, because if you fall and you cut your knee, first thing you do is you put your hand on it. If you have a sore head, you put your hand on your head. Like any time you have a soreness, sore tummy, can you rub the tummy?
Yeah.
So naturally, if you think of, if anyone ever has a pain or a soreness, the first thing you do is you put your hand to it. So naturally, instinctively, we get some soothing from the hand. But then people would be very skeptical of the hands being used for healing, even though we're doing it all the time.
The healing hands.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah. Like, sometimes the photos and stuff with Reiki, and it's kind of the hands over and there's all these magical things around and angels and all that. I understand that it's not for everybody, and I do understand. And a lot of my clients are not very spiritual people a lot of the time. They're kind of dabbling, or they're curious, or they're like, I don't know why I'm here. Someone recommended it, or they're at their wit's end with something and Reiki's the last straw kind of thing. So it is interesting why people come, and I find like people are just curious now. It's really nice to see. I think when it comes to explaining it, it is hard to say, I put my hands over you and I help you to heal. It sounds a bit woo-woo, and I get it. But it's like, I just remember my first Reiki session that I got with someone else, and I didn't really feel too much during the session. I was probably quite blocked off and I wanted her to fix my problems. And then it was after I felt like a weight had been lifted. I went and I got my first car. I started doing my driving lessons. It was like everything I procrastinated on just went poof, and I was just ready to go. And I just found it was only when I started studying Reiki that I was like, that was the Reiki. That wasn't me just all of a sudden having a zest for life. It was actually the Reiki. So that's what made me want to study it. But the hands is really interesting. During the session, my hands will go really, really hot or really, really cold. And it's bizarre because even when I'm around someone who needs healing now, even if I'm not working Reiki on them, it's like my hands go really hot and I'm like, oh my God, it's working. Even though I'm not technically working, it's just my energy picks up on someone needing to heal. So it is fascinating. And I actually never thought about the fact that you do put your hand, if you're feeling like when I was talking about heartbreak, I put my hands up here, and when you're monitoring your breath, or if you get a cut or anything, you do put the hands. I never thought of it that way. Yeah, it's interesting.
So I've done Reiki before and I found benefit out of it, and bioenergy healing as well. I remember in the early days I was helping someone with actually podcasts, and the barter was that she was doing bioenergy healing on me, and I found that good because it was helping me through childhood trauma as well, of a cousin who died at a very young age when I was young also. But tarot card reading is something that just, I would be more of the skeptical side of that.
Yeah.
Now, I've never done tarot card reading, so that's obviously why, because I haven't seen the benefit of it. But I wonder, from, can I say, a practical level,
of course.
Is the process of the tarot card reading that it gives people, it creates that space to prompt people to reflect inwards, and that you then, as the reader, is nearly observing and working off intuition in terms of where to take the conversation?
Yeah, like I find with tarot, again, I was a skeptic, totally get it. Until I started going to people and I was like, whoa, how would you know something like that? That's amazing. And then it just opened my mind to it a little bit more. And obviously now I'm practicing it. So I do, I'm a full believer now. Tarot is really interesting. I love tarot. A lot of my clients come in and we do the 90-minute session, which is the Reiki. So I'm picking up on the energy and we're working with the healing. And I find it so beneficial then when they add on the 30 minutes at the end. So I won't say it at the beginning because I feel like I need to get to know your energy. I don't ask you any questions at the beginning. I like to let the cards do the talking at the end and my own perception. So during that session, say, I'll just give you an example. If you came to me for the 30 minutes tarot at the end, I will pull while you're on the bed a few bits of tarot and it'll literally give me the story that I've just come up with in my head. It's absolutely mad. So say if I'm working with someone with heart healing, for example, like that they need their heart healed, they've gone through a relationship problem or something like that, I'll be automatically drawn to the heart deck, say from my deck of cards, and then I'll pull a few cards and I'll understand what it's talking about, and I'll talk to the client then afterwards and basically say, is this going on? Is there lack of communication here? Is there a breakdown here? Blah, blah, blah. So I will have this kind of story and I'll be painting it from, I suppose, my own intuition. I'm channeling a message as well. So sometimes as soon as you leave, it's gone. I don't remember what we've just spoken about. It's kind of like it just comes through me really quickly. And I piece it all together. And then I pull from different card decks, different oracle cards, different angel cards to create the story, I'll call it. But what I find with people is it's not always what you want to hear. It might be what you need to hear. So a lot of people will come in and they're at a pivotal point of their life where they're soul searching, they're looking for something, they feel like they're not really happy in their job. They might have a dream that they want to achieve, but they're scared. So it's all back to fear. Or they might be worried about this new relationship they're in because of past trauma and things like that. So anything that we need to work on, it's nearly like I'll be able to talk to them. It's whatever's going on in their own mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm like a mirror back to them.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to come up with anything that they don't already know or that they don't already haven't been thinking about during the session, because during my session, I get them to reflect and think about anything they want to heal, anything that they want to achieve. So I do that. I don't ask them to talk to me about it. I just get it into their mind. So they're making the decision on what we're going to be talking about and what we're healing. Do you know what I mean? And I'm working with that. So I do my sessions a little bit differently, but I find that it paints the story for whatever they need an answer on. But I will never tell them, leave your husband, leave your job, quit, off you go. I'll never give somebody like a direct. It's whatever they interpret from what I'm saying through the cards, and they can see it visually as well, which is really interesting. I already know what we're going to be talking about, if you get me. The cards show them what we're talking about so they can follow it when I'm going along. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
It's interesting. It's off their energy. And it could go past, present, future. I'll never give people timings normally because free will decides everything. So if I tell you you're going to meet your soulmate in a month, and I can, really feel that, in 4 weeks' time, I can see that for them. They could decide they could go off then. The first person they meet is the person they think, and then they latch onto that idea and they might act weird and things like that. So I won't tell them any timing. I'll just tell them what I see for their future in terms of small little things. And I always tell them that any decision you make today impacts your tomorrow. So if you go out today and you decide, I'm not going, I want to meet someone, but I'm going to sit in and not really do much about it, I can't do much about that. So I give people a little bit of hope about what they want. I give them a bit of direction, a bit of guidance. And then from there, they decide how they want, if they want to course correct their life or if they want to stay going in the way they're going. So it really is up to them. But it's really interesting. It's lovely to see that people are like, oh my God, it keeps coming out. And I'm like, yeah, it's like repeat messages, very clear. Like it's exactly what you were thinking about. And it's lovely to see someone go, oh my God, I would be successful if I went out on my own. Oh my God, there is someone around the corner for me. I am going to meet someone. I'm like, it's just timing. It's not will I, it's not if, what, and starting to doomsday think. I was like, it's actually just preparing yourself energetically to receive it. And that's what it all comes back to. So
but does it give people confidence as well, where they feel like, okay, I can use the tarot cards as the thing to do what I
as in, I've definitely seen people, feel good. I've had people come in being like, I hate my job, I'm miserable, I've been thinking about this thing. And obviously, like, I've already spoken about it. I don't find out their information beforehand. So I'm like, what's going on in the career? You don't look very happy. There seems to be this opportunity and going back to study, and I'll talk them through it. And it's just like, they're like, oh, that's just nice to know that what I've been thinking about is the right direction or will work out in the end, or, it is a possibility. Because I think a lot of people, fear comes up. Like it's the same even with me. Like a lot of my reasoning for going in the direction I went in is because I went to people like me and, they were like tapped in. They knew exactly what I was thinking. And it just fed it back to me that it was a possibility. And then I went with it and it's worked out well. It's always been from my own intuition. And that's what's coming true. I'm just a mirror back to the person. I don't hold all the answers. I don't know you before you come in. But I'm a mirror back to you, feeding your intuition back, because a lot of the time people are blocked by fear. So it's interesting. Yeah. I do love it.
And do you bring the cards around with you in the handbag?
No, there's too many of them now. So for example, tomorrow I have a women's circle event and I'll bring some kind of lighthearted cards that they'll get, that they have a little message and affirmation cards and things like that. That's quite nice. And then I have a tarot party. So I'll bring them along for that. But in general,
a tarot party.
Yeah, I've done like parties for groups of women, groups of like men and women, couples, that kind of stuff.
Does everyone get their cards read in front of the group?
No, so I don't do it that way. Now you can opt for that if you'd prefer, and I'm happy with that. But sometimes people need an answer to something and they mightn't want everyone else to know, and then they can go in and decide what they're going to talk about with their friends. So it's like 15 to 20 minutes each. They'll give you, I'll usually get like exactly what they're thinking about. It'll be clear as day, and they'll get that little bit of a message, and then they're having wine and snacks and they can go out and have a chat with each other, and it's fun because everyone gets their moment in the spotlight.
Not like bawling, crying back out in the room with everyone.
No. I haven't made anyone cry. Well, maybe. No, like most of the time there's no tears, and if there's tears, it's usually kind of like a happy tear, or like say if they've lost a loved one and I might get a card saying there's a loved one in heaven looking out for you, and it might be a granny and they've lost a granny or something like that. That can bring on an emotional response, but normally they're not too deep because we're not going too deep during those sessions.
But are you looking for body language? Are you like reading their body?
Not really. No. I think, to be honest, I'm so fixated on the story, and I'm getting channeled messages so quickly.
From where though?
It's literally like, I know like it sounds mad if you don't believe in angels, but like it's not like there's someone whispering in my ear. It's like I'm just getting this information and it's just coming out of my mouth. It's like a conversation that just goes, but I don't know I'm going to be having that conversation. Does that make sense? Yeah. And half the time when you leave, I won't really remember the conversation. But it's just really quick information where I'm just talking. So it's mad. So I don't really have time. Obviously, if someone looks very uncomfortable or upset or anything, I'm going to be, like, are you okay or whatever? But no, I don't really have time to observe someone too much. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting.
Would you call yourself a witch?
My birthday is actually Halloween. So my mom always calls me a little witch. Do you know, so like she's always been jokey about that and buying me witchy things for Halloween and everything like that because that's my birthday. But no, I wouldn't call myself a witch. I feel like there's not bad energy around it or anything like that. But people could be quite skeptical or rude about that. So I feel like I'm a psychic. I can pick up on people's energy and know what's going on with them. I can do mediumship. I don't practice it really, but I was really strong in my training with Reiki. And I did go on and do mediumship development as well.
So mediumship is
speaking with
to
spirits.
The spirits.
So say if
you have, in fairness, sorry to interrupt, you have some great blogs on your website, explaining all the different things.
So psychic is living energy. So if you come into me for Reiki, I'm working with your living energy. So I might be like, God, Gary's not very happy in his job. He's blocking his solar plexus chakra. He's not feeling very creative. He's feeling a bit unconfident to take the next step. And I'll pick up on that. Or I might be like, oh, there's stuff going on at home, feeling really burdened with a man in his life or a woman in his life, and I'll pick up on all this energy, and that's psychic, because that's you as a living person coming into me. And a lot of the time tarot can pull on psychic energy because it's giving you indication of past, present, future within your life. Mediumship then would be if you came into me. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, I felt like there was a grandmother in spirit or a dad in spirit, and I'd be very clear on that, and I could be able to channel messages. I'm kind of a little bit, I don't delve into it too much, but I'm able to do it. Does that make sense? I'm still a bit nervous around it because it's such a big undertaking for somebody to read, because people come in and they want to connect with somebody, and it's scary to do it. So I have a little bit of a block up, but that's my own thing. I am able to do it. And I have, when I was training, it sounds a bit mad, but I was able to, if someone, my teacher said a name, so John Smiths, for example, and she'd be like, they're dead or whatever. And that's all she'd say. That's it. And then I was able to tap in and know, okay, John Smith died when he was 70, died in a car crash. He was in a red car. I could feel everything. I could feel how he died. I could see, I'd know, oh, he left behind 3 kids and he had a little bungalow house, and I could literally see everything and communicate it. Same with if she mentioned a name of a living person, I'd be able to tap in and just talk about it. I could write a full page. I could write messages that they need to hear or that the person's saying to somebody. I was able to go in. So say if sat across from someone, I would be able to psychically, go into their house. So I would be like, oh, there's a cat that hangs around your garden. There's a stairs here, and you go in and there's this little magnet on the fridge that there's only one magnet on the fridge that's really important. Like, it sounds mad. So that's why I don't really go into it too much. And I'm a bit embarrassed I'm even saying it here.
No.
But it is really interesting. I didn't realize I had gifts like this. I always was told by other people who were gifted that I was gifted. It's only when I started delving into it that I found that I was quite strong. I do have a block up about mediumship. Hopefully at some point that comes back down again, because I feel like I'm not really tapping into it at the moment. But it is scary. I'm quite practical. I'm from events and marketing. I amn't the most spiritual hippy dippy person in the world, and that's fine. So sometimes I get a bit nervous or embarrassed saying these things that I am capable of, because it's like, I don't know, I just am a little bit scared of being judged. Or when you're starting out, I was nervous about going on dates with my boyfriend at the beginning, being like, this is what I can do. But I was like, I'm just going to be honest, like, this is who I am. And it is really, really nice to be able to do this work and to have that intuition.
Have you used it to speak to your father?
No. So I haven't used it for my own stuff. Again, I feel like there's a little bit of a block there with me. I would be more comfortable tapping into someone else. And, if there is someone else there for someone, that's lovely. And I feel so honored to be able to do that. And it's really special. But with my own dad and nana and things, I like when I go to someone else who can tap into it for me. I feel like there's a bit of a block there. When you lose somebody, I don't know if other people are probably able to do it, but I'm probably a bit emotionally blocked off to doing that.
But would you like to change that? Yeah,
I think so. I think it would be nice to be more open and to get into it a little bit more. I think I was studying it and I was pushing myself and really trying, and then I just lost the graw for it. But I think that's more out of fear. So as in, I'm not averse to fear either.
So something strange happened there.
Yeah.
So for those who are listening to the podcast, we also video the recording as well that we put up on our website for followers and members of the show. And I noticed that my camera had just paused. And they're not pausable cameras. You literally hit record, it records, and then you hit the button again, it stops. So I don't know. It was a few minutes back. I don't know what I asked or something that the camera
we'll
stalled.
Have to look and see.
Yeah, the other cameras recorded and your angle recorded perfectly. So that's good.
Interesting.
It is strange.
I've lots of stories like that.
Like if I was to ask you, do you feel a presence of someone else in the room? Are you able to tap into that, or is there a process you need to go through? Or
yeah, like I feel like it can come in sometimes. So this is always funny as well, because before I started studying it, you'd always think someone's switched on all the time. How do they live their lives? Unless I'm switched on in terms of like that, I'm, I suppose, open to receiving, it doesn't come in. So sometimes, like if I was in my house at home and I might see this kind of, I call it like a sparkle from the ceiling, which sounds a bit weird, but it's like I know presence is there. And I might have welcomed it in, but I will be like, oh, that's my granddad and he's beside my mum or something like that. But most of the time, I feel like there is a bit of a block there for me at the moment with that. It's just a personal thing. It's not, it's something that I need to resolve within myself to get back into working in that more professionally, because I was like on a roll and then I was just like, no, I'm not ready. Not ready to be that person yet. So
what are the moments then that have stood out for you in the work that you've done?
Like there's so many like profound little moments of working with people that's really special. The mediumship is always really special, because you just feel like someone's just so happy to hear that someone's okay in the afterlife, and it's lovely to see, that in somebody. I feel that I've worked with so many people now, and all of them have such profound journeys, and every time they come to me, we're working on something completely different. So that's all very special. I think for me is, like from a personal element, it's just getting confident in myself to really go after, this business of mine and really push it out there. I feel like that's quite a special moment. Like the launch was a special moment. I put a lot of money into that I didn't have. Getting my little studio was special. My first workshop. I think all the little firsts are really, really nice, and just seeing the support I've got, the interest I've got, just all these, they're all like bundled into like a very special time in my life. I'm very grateful for everything. And it's just so nice to watch this little business of mine start to be known locally or start to take off more. And it's still scary. Like people are like, oh, you must be so confident and you're standing up in front of a lot of people. And I'm like, I am so scared. Like I really I'm terrified of public speaking, but I'm just making myself do it. Like I'm just forcing myself out of my comfort zone all the time. So that's why it's really nice when people come in and you can just be relatable and being like, yeah, I'm scared too, but like it'll work out. Yeah. But yeah, it's all been I can't think of any like real pivotal moment. I think the first time that I was really crying, like there was 1 week, actually I do remember 1 week, but it's more so just a memory that like will haunt me to some degree. I just took on too much, where I was like, I was working up in Dublin doing a wedding, and then the next day I was down with my launch and I had all the stuff for the launch. So you've your gift cards and your business cards and your coasters, and I was like getting balloons with my branding, and I'm in events, it needs to look nice. So I was like doing all these things. Then I was trying to build a website. Then I was like I was doing a brand shoot. So I had all that to plan. So it was literally like day by day by day that I had something new like launching or coming out, or that I was challenging myself on, and like starting to just like even just like have things where people can book online, like little things like that just scare me. And everything was all at once, and I just remember like crying in my boyfriend's house, just being like, I can't do it. Just like having a little breakdown. But that's what people don't see behind the scenes, is all that. And it's been so nice having other like entrepreneurs, like female entrepreneurs, that have been like boosting you up and being like, come on, you can do it, and staying up late, like helping me. And that's been the real special moments for me, is the literally just the support. Like, it's crazy. It's so nice.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And what about breakthroughs for people then? Like people who've come into you, is there any kind of moments that stand out where?
Yeah, like there's been so many. Like it's I can't even think about like who has been the biggest breakthrough. I've definitely seen a lot of people that come to me multiple times change their lives. Like, you know, there was I can't really talk about things too much, but there was like a female client, and you know, she was just very down, very depressed. She talked about it herself, just going through a really low moment in her life, just not suicidal thoughts, but just very, very low, very, very low. And it was amazing to see her transformation, because when she came to me versus her now is amazing. She's off doing, you know, studying with Reiki and things like that. And she's, you know, she's challenging herself and trying all these wellness things and you know, coming out of her shell. And that's incredible. Like, that is just so amazing, because she's found herself. She's found her confidence. She's healing all the time. She's going through generational wounds and healing them. I've worked with the guy that's come back to me consistently as well. And he just was very nervous, was bullied in school. Lots going on there. Lovely guy as well. And he just had big breakthrough moments as well, where he started to get the confidence up to really go after what he wanted and start to like talk to himself better. And you just noticed a transformation in somebody. I've had quick breakthroughs as well with people coming in and, you know, just deciding they're not happy in a relationship. They want to leave, and that's okay. And they made up their mind, and it wasn't a happy space as they were in, and they made up their mind, and that's fine. And that's good for them to come in and I suppose feel the feelings and work through it. I've worked with people that have come in with a lot of grief, that have started to lift it and really like get that confidence in themselves again, and, you know, to open their hearts and be vulnerable. And that's lovely. And people that have been like, oh my God, I want to go out and start my business, that are now have started their business, that have just went full hog, been like, I'm going out into the world. This is it. I've quit my job. And now they're starting, and it's amazing. So like, everyone's journey is so different, but yet the same in a certain way. And it's, you know, in their little, I suppose, segments of what I see people coming in for. And it's just really honoring to be part of such a big momentous occasion in so many people's lives. But it's not me doing the work. It's them. Yeah. It's them choosing. It's them choosing to even come in and heal in the first place. And I find that just so lovely to see.
You mentioned generational wounds. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so it's funny, like you'd see a lot of people come in and they might be replicating their parents' relationship, or they, you know, if there's addictions in the family, they might just be kind of taking it, you know, it's nearly like they're reliving generational trauma to some degree. And a lot of people that are coming into me might be the person that's going to pivot it, that's going to turn it around, that's going to heal it. So then their children don't have the same experience. They don't live the same existence, I suppose, that they might have lived with. So it's interesting. I do see a lot of people coming in with an element of that. It's not always easy for them to understand that either, but when we kind of work through, I suppose, their past and their upbringing and everything like that, it can become more apparent. And then it's just sometimes they are just the person that's the more, I suppose, aware person. They've become more aware of patterns of destruction or self-sabotage or limitations, and they're there to change things around. And I always say to people, healing begins with you. So if you want to heal your partner, you're coming in because you're worried about your partner, you heal yourself. If you want to heal your child, you heal yourself. If you want to heal your parent, you heal yourself. It starts with you, and it's the ripple effect that goes outwards. And from healing within, you start to see a change in your external. You also start to bring other people on the more spiritually awoken journey with you, but it starts with you. So I always find that really interesting as well. And it's lovely it kind of just breaks it down for people a little bit too when they're worried about others. It's just keep bringing it back to you.
I've heard so many very successful people over the years talking about manifestation. Jim Carrey has a great story about it that people can hear on YouTube. You know, There's so many stories out there where people knew what they wanted, they created their vision board and they manifested it and they believed in it and carried on like it was already happening and so on. And you do manifestation workshops. There's a manifestation circle coming up soon. Talk to me about the process one needs to do to create a manifestation for themselves.
So manifestation's funny. I love the laws of attraction and everything like that. I love working with people to work through the different ways to manifest and everything. And I did a manifestation circle recently. We were talking about manifestation, and a lot of people just had a different way of thinking about it, but I feel like that was their limitation. So again, it starts with you. The thing with manifestation that people kind of find a bit woo-woo is they think that you just think about it and then boom, it comes. It doesn't. Yeah. You know, there is some action you need to take, okay? But I find what it boils back to in a practical level, because I'm all about practicality, even though I am a spiritual person, it boils back to the fact that you believe in it. So a lot of people will kind of, you know, they'll do their vision board and they'll want all these things, and that's wonderful. It's so nice to be like, I want to public speak and I want to get here in my business and I want to make this amount of money and I want to meet somebody and I want this, that and the other. And that's so lovely to have that vision. But where people fall at the hurdle is that sometimes they don't believe they deserve it. So they might, you know, want the high flying career, but they might feel that they're not good enough. They might want a partner, but they might question being like, oh, you know, will it work out this time? Will it end like the last one? And that's where...
So there's a blockage there that
there's
they're
a block.
Yeah.
And I find that with people, or else they start, if they're like, okay, I want to see this in 3 months' time. If it doesn't happen in 3 months, it's not happening. And they put this date in their head. And if it doesn't happen in 3 months, then they go back on it and they're like, well, it's not going to happen now. I don't see it. So, you know, they start to doubt it. They start to question it. They pull back their energy from it. They might, and I always liken it to like, I suppose I'm full of analogies, but when you plant a seed in the ground, you water it, you nurture it, you believe it's going to grow, you let it grow at its own time.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't go out every day toiling over it, planting new seeds over it that could affect its growth. You don't dig it up to look at it and see if the roots have formed. You just believe that it's going to grow and you nurture it. And that's the same with a thought. You know, a lot of people go back on their thinking. So for example, I'll just use if you want to meet somebody. So you really want to meet your soulmate. You really want to meet someone. But then you might be like, oh, do you know what? I'll be fine on my own. I'll be fine on my own. Like, you know, there's no one out there, or, you know, I'm not having any luck. I always attract the same people. But you want to meet somebody. You're kind of putting the wrong thing out there in your thought processes. So you might say, oh, I really want to meet someone, and you might have this lovely lad on your vision board and all this stuff. But if that's your thought process, if that's your mindset, if you keep going back to that comfort zone, that's what you need to correct. So that's kind of what I work with when we're manifesting is you need to believe it. You need to trust in divine timing. You need to trust in the universe. You need to trust that whatever's for you will not pass you. And it's also a point where people think, you know, I want this one thing. I want this one thing and that's it. And they have tunnel vision. And, you know, we've all been there and that's fine. Tunnel vision, and they grasp on. And energetically, that is a recipe for disaster, because if you're grasping on, you're not allowing the free flow of energy. Yeah. So you're actually better off being like, I want this or better. I'm open to receiving. It'll be this or better. And, you know, that will bring you to places that you could have never dreamed of, but you need to allow to release it so that the energy can bring it in. And I'll just give you my little analogy that I always use. So it's a wardrobe analogy. So this might sound a bit silly, but this is how I liken energy. And I find everyone has a wardrobe, so you're going to know what I'm talking about. If your wardrobe is packed to the brim, okay, with stuff that you don't like to wear. So it's packed to the brim. Every time you look in it, you're like, oh my God, I hate everything in here. I feel like crap when I put this on. They all have holes in them. They're not, you know, it's not what I like. And you're walking past it every day and you hate it and you don't like taking from it. And it's packed and nothing else new can go in. And for example, if I tell you, you know what, you can go into any shop you want and you can buy whatever you want. It's on me. Great. more than likely you would go into that wardrobe, you'd chuck everything into a bag, you'd drop it down to St. Vincent de Paul, and you would, you'd be delighted because you know that everything that you want is just around the corner. You're going to go out and get it. Great. And there's no doubt in your mind because you're about to receive it. It's the same with energy. It's the same with manifestation. So you need to clear out the clutter. You need to clear out your kind of your comfort zone thinking that isn't always constructive. You have to clear out the past. So again, past baggage, past beliefs, past trauma. Start to look at it, bag it up, and let it go. And that's how I liken it to. So you can receive, because the universe is like that as well. Everything is waiting. Everything's lined up, nearly ready to go. If you believe in it, if you believe you are ready
it, but
to receive
know what
it.
you want as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you give wishy-washy energy, nothing comes in. But if you look at it that way, you need to get rid to receive. So that's why we work through releasing energy so that you can energetically receive. Okay. Because if you're all blocked up, there's no receiving. It doesn't work like that. So then you'd fill the wardrobe with new stuff and it would be wonderful and you'd be delighted. And that's all the stuff that you wanted. That's all the stuff that you seen coming into your life, that you believed in, that you knew that you're worthy of it. And that's what it boils back to. But like you said there, you need to know what you want. So I always find as well, I say to clients, write a letter to your angels. Now, if you don't believe in angels, that's fine. You can write a letter to yourself and just get focused in your own mind for exactly what you want. Because when you're in manifestation mode, if you're like, and again, it's the whole, if I don't see it, then I have to change what I'm doing because it hasn't come in yet and I'm getting sick of it now and I'm overthinking it. So you need to not be wishy-washy. You need to say, this is what I want. This is what I deserve. This is what I'm working towards.
You don't have to
open to
why it, do you? You don't say, this is what I want because.
Yeah, you don't have, I haven't had to drill in too much. It's not even, you can do that if you feel like you need to work through the reasons why you deserve it, but really it's inherently knowing you deserve it. Does that make sense? So it's working on your self-care, it's working on your self-love, your self-belief, like doing all the things that make you feel good. That's going to make you feel like you deserve it, and you're going and working on busting different patterns that don't work for you anymore and just becoming more self-aware. That all helps, and it's all quite practical, I find. But definitely wishy-washy energy, the universe doesn't know what to deliver. So if you're clear, it's great, but be open. And that's where the tunnel vision comes in. So it might sound like opposing, but you have to be open, because sometimes you don't even know the wonderful things that could come in, and you might limit yourself by only wanting one thing, where there could be amazing things ahead, but it might be a little bit different to what you expect. So you kind of have to just be open. So it's nearly being clear about what you want and then releasing it and being open to receiving it then, and knowing you're worthy to receive it at the time that you're ready, because it might be 5 years down the line. It could be a year down the line. There's all these facets, if you're looking for the perfect house, and, sometimes there's someone else that needs to sell the house and they're going through all their own personal things. Like, you don't see what's going on behind, ourselves. Like there's so much more, with the perfect person, maybe they've decided to go off traveling for a few months and, your paths are meant to cross, but maybe it's not in the timing you plan. There's so much more going on than meets the eye. So you do need to trust and just be open. And I always find that as well.
Yeah.
It's hard. I'm not always great at it.
Is there anything you've manifested that you can share with us that came true for you?
To be honest, everything that I am doing now, I did manifest. Yeah, I was clear and I've worked hard. It's late nights, it's hard work. I did manifest in, I suppose, my partner. I wanted to meet someone, and I felt very, I needed to be ready to move on from the past and all that side of things before I was able to energetically meet someone else. And it was funny how we met, and he doesn't believe in any of this, so if he listens to this, he'll roll his eyes. But, we met in really weird timing, because we had actually matched online 2 years prior, and neither of us were in the headspace to actually date at the time. And then 2 years later, I just felt this pull to come back from Limerick to Galway to Oranmore, and I found a house. And then my friend had a word with me over Christmas being like, well, you're not going to meet someone by sitting inside. You need to be out in the dating apps. And I was like, I'm not ready. And I actually wrote a letter to my angels being like, let me release the past. Let someone come in if I'm meant to meet someone. And I was very like open to it at that point because I was just ready then.
Yeah.
And then literally 2 weeks later, we matched. He was my neighbour right across the road, and it's been really lovely since. And I'm not saying that's just manifestation or anything like that, but it was just all the timing was really impeccable that it really worked. And I suppose it was just, it just felt right. But I've definitely seen it with business as well. I really, in my mind's eye, I was like, I want to be running workshops. I want to run events. I want to, I want to public speak. I want to educate people. And I have this big ambition for myself. I also want to write a book. And that's the next thing that I'm manifesting in. But like, I can't just sit and manifest. I have to do the work as well. And I have to believe that I'll be good enough. And, some days I don't feel like some days I doubt myself and I'm like, I don't know if I can do it anymore and all that. But then you just keep coming back and being like, no, I feel it in my gut. And you keep coming back to that. And it takes work, but I do feel like it starts with a vision. It starts with knowing what you want, with knowing you're worthy to receive, that it is out there for you. And sometimes we can get ourselves into an overthinking state where we question everything before it happens. It's really only when we decide that we're going to let go. And that's what I found, definitely. When I've been like, it has to happen by this time. If it doesn't happen this way, it's not going to happen. I've been completely a control freak with the universe before, and it doesn't work. So I've had to learn that that doesn't work. So I just impart my learnings onto other people, and just anything I have learned from other people as well, imparting their wisdom onto me.
Can we just touch briefly as well on heartache? And, as we were saying before we started recording here, like everyone has suffered heartache in their lives, whether it's the loss of a loved one in a relationship, or it could be like yourself, a parent, it could be the loss of a job that they loved or something like that. And you help people through that process as well.
Yeah. Heart healing is one of my favorites. I do love the manifestation. It's really fun. Heart healing, you delve in, it's really interesting. I find a lot of people come to me either because like that, they want to manifest their career, they want to believe in themselves, and it's all that kind of like mindset change and shift of perspective and things like that. And that's lovely. And then a lot of people come to me and they might have broken up with someone 10 years ago and it's still sitting on them. They might have lost a loved one 20 years ago and it's still a heaviness. And it affects their life going forward. So I always find when someone has a blocked heart chakra from pain, sadness, grief, loneliness, everything coming in, that we pack in and pack in and pack in, because, we don't like to be vulnerable all the time, and the heart is very precious and we can close ourselves off. And people, I'll know when someone comes into the room and they're closed off energetically. They could be the loveliest person in the room, but it's nearly like there's a barrier between us. And when I work with their heart, it's like I could knock on it. It's like wood. And that's just how it feels energetically. So I know they're in a prison in their heart. They could be in a relationship for 20 years and they mightn't have let that person in from stuff from childhood and things like that. So it's interesting, like how it affects life moving forward, because you could always have one foot out the door, or never really let someone in, or never want that vulnerability, or maybe, it's affected your love of yourself. That also affects, I'm going to go for the job I love. I'm going to do the hobbies I love. I'm going to, feel worthy. It affects everything like that moving forward. So working with the heart has been really profound. I found that, heartbreak has always opened me up in different ways that, at the time it's the worst thing in the world. And then in hindsight, you're like, oh, I really learned
Screw
so
you.
much. Well, yeah, like, I'm all about forgiveness as well, but you have
to go through the different emotions.
Oh yeah.
First,
Yeah. You go through the different emotions, and I totally empathize with people when they come in and they're in the trenches of it, and I get it. But really it's about looking at what the lesson is, after the fact, when you're coming out of the hurt. A lot of the time people come in and they make profound life changes, or they really get into their spiritual, I suppose, awakening, as we call it, or just that feeling of wanting to find themselves or wanting to heal themselves, or it's just incredible. Like heartbreak is the worst thing in the world. Like it is. But what can come from heartbreak can be really profound and amazing sometimes. And it's the fact that people can pick themselves back up again and really change their lives for the better, and, for other people around them. That is what I like about the heart healing. But it's hard. Like, it is hard seeing people cry and upset and, holding space. And it's just really, really lovely, but hard. Yeah. It's my favorite part.
Well, Adele wouldn't have so many Grammy Award winning songs if she didn't have the heartache.
Well, look, as in
Taylor Swift or anything.
No, and like sometimes, you'll see probably the only one I can think of at the moment is The Killers, like their first album. That was a heartbreak album. My God.
Killers.
Yeah, like that's the one I'm thinking about, like their first one. It sounded like a heartbreak album. And Maroon 5 and all that. It's nearly like their first one was like the epic. And then after that it was kind of, now it could have just been different circumstances, but it's nearly like the heartbreak creates the best novels, it creates the best songs. It gets people to change their lives or go after what they want or go traveling or find themselves. And it's not, nobody wants heartbreak. I don't wish it upon myself.
We're not encouraging people to
No, and I don't wish it upon myself. I really don't want to get my heart broken again.
Your takeaway message of this episode is not to get your heart broken.
No. Like, I don't want to get my heart broken again. But you will have different stages in your life that are hard, that are taxing, that, people pass away that are close to you. If we're all going to go through it in different elements, and sometimes it brings a life lesson with it or a growth spurt with it. And that can be life changing, but at the time, it's not nice.
Yeah,
it's the worst. Yeah,
and it's not to just compress it and block it up.
Yeah, and we've all been there. Like, everyone deals with grief and hurt and heartbreak in different ways. Some people, it's easy to run away from it and busy yourself and move on and all that stuff. Like, that's probably the easier thing to do, but it delays the healing progress. And I see it in people when they come in. Sometimes you have to sit with it and look at it and really feel it, and then you can release it. People come in and they want to run away from it, and I'm like, you have to sit with it. If we're going to release it, if we're going to unburden you, you have to reflect on it and actually acknowledge it and then move forward. You can't release it without sitting with it first. It doesn't work like that. So it is interesting in that capacity, but it's not easy. Even if someone's unpacking something from years ago, it can be still as painful.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but it is a real honour to be able to sit there with people while they're doing it.
Look, Amber, thank you so much for coming in and talking to me today. Talking, that's the Galway accent.
I know, yeah. We've been very Galway here.
We have, yeah. I think you really explained the practices that you carry out really, really well, and I hope people are open enough to listen to what you had to say today and see the possible benefit for them in that. If people want to get more information, Amber does loads of workshops as well as her in-person sessions. Check out her website, ambermoonholistic.com. Thanks again, Amber.
Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it. It was lovely.
Yeah.
Thanks.